it's not always just about toxic and you're rich and you're in love and you got to choose between two hot guys. It's about fighting for your life, not knowing that you're going to have tomorrow. The fact that Mandy Moore, she wasn't responding to treatment, yet she still decided that life was too beautiful. She decided to try to live and find love.
Hi, I'm Courtney Revolution, pop culture commentator, reality TV personality, and sometimes I like my chicken noodle soup with a soda on the side.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Alyssa Sabo, comedian and writer, and I am wearing a hand-knit sweater today.
I love it. It's so cute.
Good on you, girl.
Yeah,
Hand
it's
knit.
really pretty.
Hi, I'm Monica Lumba. I am a comedian, a performer, and I think sometimes my life is a little bit of a rom-com. That's just me, though.
Not the laugh.
Hey guys, I'm Jade Catabretta, actress, comedian, host. I was in Modern Family. I was supposed to be in a bunch of episodes, but then one of the actresses said I was too chummy. You can guess who that was. Too chummy.
Oh, God. And welcome to Rivals! Rivals is the head-to-head nostalgia fest where we go back in time in the 90s and 2000s and discuss the biggest rivalries that did exist. It can be a person, it can be a thing, it can be a movie. And we are so excited to jump into today's episode. But before we do have to let you know who won last week's episode. And a reminder, okay? If you're like, wait, who's deciding the winner of the episodes? Is it the Academy Awards? No, it's you, dummy. You're in the comments.
It's not the Wizard of Oz.
We literally look at all the comments and we see who wins, okay? And some of you might be like, wait, how exactly do you do that? And it doesn't matter because you don't win anything, okay?
You win the pride.
You win the pride.
Self-respect.
Yeah.
You win pride rock.
Self-respect, which is
Hashtag.
priceless.
Yeah.
And maybe even a follow back.
Oh,
We could maybe do that.
Okay, if you want to follow back from Jade, you know what that means. Okay, so last week's episode was Barbie versus Bratz. Okay, and
Who
honestly, very controversial episode. You need to go listen to that if you haven't. But who won was Barbie.
Yeah.
Ew.
I think
I wasn't worried for a
me
second.
neither. It's
Yeah.
honestly such an
Basic.
iconic doll and part of our culture that it wouldn't make sense for Bratz to
It's
win
tradition, and I
Barbie-
get it. People don't want to take away tradition because they don't want new things that explore diversity. And
Get
fun
him again,
stuff.
Jade.
Yeah.
It all.
Huh?
Alrighty.
Okay, well, let's get into, before we get into today's episode, we do just need to do a little disclaimer. And that disclaimer is that we love both things. Really, we do. Both the things we're going to talk about in this episode, and honestly, every episode we kind of love because we're big pop culture heads, especially the 90s and 2000s. But this is Debate Club, okay? So we are on two sides and we are pitted against each other, and sometimes things get really heated, okay?
Sometimes, yeah.
I'm looking at Alyssa, and sometimes I
Alyssa
need
cries
to,
a lot.
I need to put the sweat off her brow.
I
She gets so
sometimes
stressed.
say things that I don't know, but I'm so obsessed with winning. That's something about me. I'm obsessed with winning. So I will say whatever it takes to win.
She'll make up childhood memories.
That's not true. I've never done that. I'm not that
Not
smart.
cheap.
I'm not
okay?
that smart. I'm not that smart to make stuff up.
Okay.
What are we talking about today, y'all?
What we're talking about today is The Notebook versus A Walk to Remember. Okay, so two
Straight.
incredible movies from the 2000s. So who's over here on Team The Notebook? It's Jade and Monica. And you'll notice we've never been on a team before. We've never been on a team before, so
it's
we're
too
really
much power
excited.
in one place. People are freaking out.
And over for A Walk to Remember, we've got Alyssa and Courtney.
And we have also never been on a team before.
Yeah.
And I feel the world is shaking. You guys are crying, screaming, throwing up. Because
calm.
me and Courtney are kind of
Iconic
powerful.
and hot.
We're common and we're
Powerful.
common wet, like that rain scene in The
Crying,
Notebook.
Screaming,
Huh?
throwing up.
You guys are crying, screaming, throwing up at this pairing.
Legends only.
Absolutely legends only. Okay, we're
Listen.
so excited.
Yeah, we're excited.
Let's get into it. Before we get into the two movies, okay, let's just set the stage. This is the age of Nicholas Sparks. Okay, Nicholas Sparks wrote both the books that inspired both of these movies.
Incredible name, first of all. I just
Yeah.
want to say, having the last name Sparks, you're destined for greatness.
It's almost like he wrote it
like,
himself.
yeah,
He
maybe.
penned the name.
Yeah.
I think what's most interesting about him to me is that he was actually really into track and field. Okay. And he got a
Wow.
scholarship to go to Northwestern, and then he hurt himself and he was like, I'm so depressed. And his mom was like, hey, get up and go write a book.
And
Oh
look
my
at him now.
gosh.
And look at him now. And the
Wow.
first book he wrote was The Notebook. And if I had been depressed, I don't think that's what my mom would have said to me.
My
What
mom
would she have
What would she have
said?
said? Yeah.
She would have been like, get a job.
Yeah, my mom would have been like, do laundry, like go do the dishes,
Go for a walk,
go peel some
maybe."
potatoes.
Yeah.
I feel like my mom would have said, I think you're fine. Keep running.
Depression's not
mom
real.
had a
You're fine.
heartfelt conversation with
Nicholas
me.
Sparks' two top books were The Notebook and A Walk to Remember. And like since those two were made into movies, it's been a cascade of Nicholas Sparks movies. Like,
They launched him.
yeah, The Last Song, Dear John, and all of them have incredible star power. Like Miley and Liam in The Last Song. Dear John, we have Channing Tatum and Amanda Seyfried. It just, there's so much star power in all of these movies. And every single one, like maybe they're not the biggest box office, but everyone's binging them, you know, on whatever streamer.
Yeah.
Yeah, those women
That's
are crying.
true.
They're watching.
He's also like, I feel like in watching interviews of him, he's like, has no, like writers are tortured and they like can't finish their books and like they're so stressed. Like he's not stressed at all.
Today I was listening to a podcast about dopamine, okay?
Okay.
And how there's a lot one of the biggest addictions in the world is porn, right? But also for women, it's like it's 10 to 1 men to women, but women get very addicted to romance novels and they're all formulaic. Like if you open to the middle of it, that's when like there's like a climax, and a lot of women like would just get to these climaxes and then like put down the book. And if you see all these movies, they have a very similar rhythm.
That's actually, I
Wow.
remember in my Christian college, this girl came into Bible study and she was like, I'm addicted to porn. And we were like, really? And she was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I've been watching a lot of rom-coms.
Yeah.
She thought porn was like a rom-com. I was like, that's not porn.
I know,
Are you
but
serious?
Yeah, I remember it. It was-
it's porn for women in a way because it's like this sort of materialized idea of what a romantic relationship
It
should
is.
look like.
Sure. I mean, that scene, we'll get into it, but there's a
Wow.
scene in The Notebook. A lot of the scenes in Nicholas Sparks movies, I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
Light
It's
a
intense.
candle. Let's get into it.
I
Yeah,
wanted
so
more sex, but that's just
You
me.
wanted
Wait,
more.
before we move on, what is the formula of a Nicholas Sparks story? Like, what are the ingredients?
Guy comes from this side of town. One girl comes from very Romeo and Juliet,
Well,
right? They come
yeah.
from different tracks,
Sure.
and they're not supposed to be together, and they have to overcome something in order to be together. They come together. There's some conflict, then they have sex, and then they're like, they get
not
spread apart,
always.
or
Not
they have quote unquote sex. They kiss,
Sure.
they grind, whatever you're into, okay, and then they're separated by society once again, and then at the end they come together.
I feel like
No pun intended.
there's
Isn't that
gotta
life?
there's gotta be a little tragedy in there. I think
Yeah,
when
the
it comes to like
conflict.
Nicholas
Yeah,
Sparks, somebody
yeah.
gotta die.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
There's tragedy. Someone's coming back from war. Okay.
It's
in
just
A
a-
Message in
Dear
a
John.
Bottle, she literally finds a message in a bottle and then tracks this dude down. Like, kind of,
That's
you've got
stalker,
male vibes,
stalker.
honestly.
Yeah, that's
It's also, though, life, if you will. You know?
The circle of,
Is
if you
it?
will.
I think so. I think that ultimately movies and books are based on life. And I think that a lot of the stuff he was writing about was kind of experiences that he was having.
Kind of like The Last Song with Miley Cyrus
God
and
bless
and
Miley.
Liam.
yeah. I've never seen that
Liam
one, but I
Hemsworth.
should because
Turtles.
You should. Oh my
boy,
God.
yeah. That's
The
when they fell in
Turtles.
love.
Yeah.
They're definitely, here's the thing. Nicholas Sparks writes a good rom-com. They're definitely cheesy
timeless.
at times. Timeless.
Timeless.
Female porn.
There's
the dialogue
something.
is
There's
kinda
definitely
crazy.
something.
Yeah.
So, Monica, you've read The Notebook.
I have read The
And
Notebook.
have you read any other Nicholas Sparks?
I think I've read Message in a Bottle and maybe I think I've read The Vow also. Yeah.
They're soothing. They're satisfying. They're like a little pacifier.
Yeah, they're easy reads
Yeah.
for sure. And
The font's like
and
this big.
The other interesting thing is like, you know how a lot of movies movies that get adapted from books, like they change them a lot, right? Or they like a lot of the details from his books are kept like exactly because the fandom
love
is so
that.
crazy. Do you know what I mean? Versus like, I feel like not a lot of people are normally like happy with a movie adaptation of a book.
No, it's
but
like
That's
the book
true.
is always
a lot
better.
of
That's
people
true.
like love the
Yeah.
Nicholas Sparks movies, which I think is interesting.
I know when I saw it, I was like, this is so different than the book.
So we want to hear from you. Which was your favorite Nicholas Sparks book that you've read? Okay. Maybe it wasn't The Notebook or Walk to Remember. Maybe it was a different one. But we want to hear from you in the comments. We need to be hearing from you in the
And if
comments.
you're like, I don't like him, I like Gone Girl better. You can say that too.
Or if you like Gandhi the movie, we want to hear that too. Okay. So
Okay.
let's get into it. The Notebook. Okay. What is The Notebook about? Directed by Nick Cassavetes. Okay.
What's some other stuff he's directed?
Well, his
we know?
dad is also like one of the most famous directors of all time. John Cassavetes. You guys don't know. Sorry, I always,
Blank eye.
I always forget that most of my knowledge is like 70s and 80s, but I just assume everybody's
Who
gonna know
is
that.
he?
So Gina Rowlands starred in A Woman Under the Influence, which was directed by John Cassavetes. John Cassavetes is Nick Cassavetes' dad.
Okay.
And Gina Rowlands was also John Cassavetes' wife. So,
So
and she's
Nick's
in,
mom.
Yes, so she's in The Notebook,
So
which
you
is
got to
cool.
direct her.
Yeah, it's kind of like a cool, but that's
It's a
sort
cool
of
Neppy
it's all in the
story.
family.
Yeah.
very
Okay,
cool.
so I feel like I love the Notebook story. Like
And give us the plot for people that might have never seen it
Here's
or
the
want a
plot.
refresher.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go back and forth.
Picture me walking downtown Orinda to the theater so I could take my ass to the Notebook with my friend. Okay, literally, I walked 2 miles downtown
Because
to
you
see
had
this
read the
movie.
book and you were really
miles?
excited for the movie, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, right,
Whoa.
right.
And
It
my
is
parents
fun.
were like
That is
working,
fun.
and so
Yeah.
that's what I had to do. Okay, the Notebook takes place in South Carolina. Okay, Noah is a mill worker, and he's hot as hell, played by Ryan Gosling. Okay?
Oh, it's in the 1940s also, just
the
to set like a
1940s,
time so
yes.
you feel like da-da-da.
And him and his friend Finn, okay, they're just buddies, and he meets Rachel McAdams, okay, and whose character,
teenagers at the time.
Allie is playing
Yeah.
Rachel McAdams, and Rachel McAdams is in this town just for the summer because that's what rich people do. Okay,
They do.
they're
They
staying
travel
at
for the
their
summer.
staying at their nice house,
Summer
and they're
house.
covering all their stuff with like sheets when they're gone. I don't know. That's like
Yeah,
such a
they do
rich
that.
person
They do
thing in
that.
my
Yeah,
mind.
it is, yeah. No dust on the china.
They meet, and Rachel McAdams is way richer than him. Okay, he's a poor guy, and she's like, "No, thank you. I've got painting, then tennis, then golf, then whatever." Her and her parents have
She's
her whole life
busy.
planned,
Yeah.
and they end up falling in love, and they are making out the whole summer. But they're also fighting. Okay, it's not just like we
It's
get
hot.
along. They fight. They're like from different sides of the railroad, if so to speak. Okay, and then her parents are like, "No. He's not suitable for you, babe." That's what the dad says. He's not suitable for you, babe.
By the way, the dad has got like, this like
Literally
handlebar
Romeo and
blah, blah, blah.
Juliet.
Yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
in the movie and also in the book, there's an older couple that the husband of this older couple is reading this book called The Notebook to his wife who has Alzheimer's to help her remember. It's honestly like,
it's kind of their narration, like
Yeah, it's like a narration
The
of
framing,
it
the
all.
framing
story.
of the
Yeah.
story.
and to try and help them remember their romance. And then,
But we don't know that.
Right,
not
until the
revealed.
end. Spoiler alert,
Yeah,
whenever you get
yeah.
it. So, in the story of them during the summer, they're so in love. They have this really big fight. She has to go back to the city. The mom drags her. He writes her a letter every day for a year, a calendar year. The mom hides the letters. She never gets the letters, okay?
Wait, we have to back up a little because when they're together, he has this dream of like redoing this house that's like just barely basic,
Yes.
like to the bones. And
Yeah.
she's like, "Well, do you want to know what I would do with it?" And she's like, "I would put a piano here." And she envisions the house like as if they're gonna be together forever.
Yeah.
She leaves,
And it's white.
yeah, and she wants blue shutters
and a
she wants
wraparound
piano.
porch.
Yeah, and so she leaves.
Yep.
He's writing her every day, by the way, a little manic, but he's writing her every day, 365 letters. I can't even write like a sentence without my hand cramping. And
Honestly, the mom hiding the letters was the greatest thing that she could have done for them. I'm telling you that much.
I'm-
handle
I-
you.
I
That's
do-
true.
I cannot handle you because when we get to your part, I'll absolutely rip A Walk to Remember Part.
Yeah,
It's
right.
the dumbest, stupid, most
It's the
Christian movie I've
yeah,
ever
right.
most
Christian
Christian
movie.
propaganda I've
All
ever seen. I'll
right,
brainwash.
keep going,
But
keep
what I want
going.
to say is, I feel like the movie was so iconic. Okay, we'll talk about this later. It's steeped into culture, and it's an incredible love story. It's
I
the
agree.
most pinnacle love story there is.
But you know what?
Oh,
Wait,
it was a
time.
big
It was
deal.
iconic. It
was
became
a big
huge
deal.
thing.
I
Yeah.
It was
remember
something.
it was a big deal.
I remember everyone's like, "You didn't watch The Notebook?"
It was a
Like,
big deal.
Everybody for my
Yeah.
whole entire life
Same.
until
I
last
was like-
week.
It was a big deal of a movie. I do remember Allie in that blue dress, and we have a lot of memes from this
Yes,
movie.
we
of,
do.
You're a bird, I'm a bird. But we're pitting
Say
it
you're a
up
bird.
against. We're pitting it up against a movie that and Monica thinks she's gonna come for me.
Oh my god, I
Oh,
can't.
luck.
cannot
I literally
wait.
cannot.
Okay, so-
Okay, so A Walk to Remember is this story about a young man that is, in the beginning of the movie, he's hanging out with some friends. He's playing a prank
A bit
on.
troubled.
He's very
Bit of a
troubled.
troubled boy.
Very troubled. They play a prank on a boy. He gets hurt.
That's lightly putting it. They almost kill him.
You literally can't walk.
Yeah,
after
yeah.
that.
Yeah,
He's like-
that's part of the story. You
He's
guys
hurt.
are making it seem like we love that happened.
He gets,
into some trouble.
He gets in some trouble for playing the prank, and part of his punishment is to work with like children that don't have as many resources, or also work in the, or he has to act in the school play. and he's not very good at it initially.
Which, by the way,
And we are introduced to
Jamie, who's played by
Mandy Moore,
Candy
the love of my
Mandy.
life.
not the love of your
Mandy
life.
Moore
This
is
is getting good now.
looking rough. Her bangs are greasy. Her skin is pale. She's wearing long dresses that do no services to her
I
body.
couldn't say that part.
She is wearing the longest dresses with cardigans. She is a pastor's daughter.
Not
she
you clutched
sings.
her own card.
She sings in the church. Okay, and in this town, where does it take place again?
North
North
Carolina.
Carolina. In this town, like everybody kind of goes to church, so they all know, like, oh, that's the pastor's daughter.
Yeah.
And she is seen as this sort of kind of angelic figure who's a
But
little
weird.
bit. She's weird.
no, but
she's
she
weird.
volunteers.
She's
She
a
does a lot for the
volunteer.
community.
She does stuff for the community, and she is, she then has to kind of bump up against Landon Carter, and that's where there's they do this play together, and then
She's helping him with his lines.
and he is having a real moment of, what am I doing with my life? What an amazing thing for young men to watch this movie and to see that, oh, wow, I can change. I don't always have to be the bad guy who almost kills somebody because I'm trying to fit in with the cool crowd. Maybe there's a chance for me to grow and to learn how to love and to learn how to be a good guy, okay? For bigger purposes, not just to build a house so that this lady comes back to me. Anyways, so keep going. So then we have their love story kind of begins, it kind of unfolds, and we come to find out that Jamie
is about to die.
She's about to die. Ridiculous.
Jamie has leukemia, unfortunately, and she has stopped responding to treatment. So Landon does everything in
But
his power.
by the way, she has a full head of hair.
Landon does everything
Full
in his
head
Not
hair.
everybody loses their hair when they do chemo.
Landon
Yeah,
does
but-
everything in his power to make
you.
sure that the rest
some
of Jamie's
respect.
life is beautiful and constructed the way that she saw fit, because she sort of had like a bucket list of things that she
And
wanted
it
to
is
complete.
truly a story because guess what? Rachel McAdams' character is just a rich girl that has two guys that are fucking madly in love with her. Okay, cool. What about for everybody else that doesn't have such a perfect life, that isn't rich and still wants to have love even before they die? Okay, that's kind of a cool story. So if you're gonna try to come forward and say it's Christian propaganda,
It is.
why don't you just shut the frick up, because that's not what it is.
My
okay?
thing is this.
Her faith helped her in her situation. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but that helped her. Thank you.
Amen. I think what's really important about A Walk to Remember is the fact that it showed us that love can really change you, because Landon sucked.
Landon sucked.
And we had Landon Carter played by Shane West, who was the only poster I had in my room other than Destiny's
Not
Child.
as
And
hot as Ryan
TLC, it
Gosling.
was Shane West.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
I was not into blonde guys. They scare me still to this day. Blonde men are scary to me.
Heard
Shane
that.
West was a gorgeous, brunette. And I will say one time, this is a side note, I did date a guy who said I kind of looked like Shane West, which kind of freaked me out. And it made me
God.
And
Oh.
tell me you beat his ass.
That's why
and
you
tell me you
liked
beat
him.
his ass,
Weird, 'cause I was
Alyssa.
like, anyways, but is that why I was into him? No, I don't think so. I don't
Okay.
think I look like Shane West.
I don't think you do either.
I don't think
you.
you do at
Okay.
all.
I think you look
Alyssa.
much more like Mandy Moore.
But a fun
Shane
fact
West.
is that this was based on Nicholas Sparks' sister, who did die of breast cancer. So that's pretty sad.
I think
But,
when I
yeah.
watched it, I was shocked at how unbelievable the story was,
Yes,
and how
completely.
unrelatable it was to me. I have a lot of fear when it comes to religion, just because I feel like I've been ostracized by people who are religious because of how much I love pussy. And so I feel like it was hard to watch. It felt uninclusive, and it felt like everybody in the town was like, there's a bad guy. And it's like that stereotypical, like, he's saved by God. Like, that was the ultimate message of the movie.
Not
and
God, Mandy Moore.
Yeah, but Mandy Moore was kind of
his
like the idea
angel.
of God, like an angel that like changes, and then she dies, and then he's like forever changed. Like, bullshit. He went back to his old ways. He went back to the girlfriend.
I think
probably.
that I understand that. And obviously, like, religion and the church in particular hasn't always done the greatest job of being LGBTQ friendly. But I don't think, I will just to like kind of say, I don't think that this movie was about that. It was more, I think it was like, yeah, sure, she's like a pastor's daughter, but like, I think it showed her as just like kind of a volunteer who was like dying, and God like helped her to sort of like deal with the pain that she was like. I don't think it tried to preach any
No,
message
I'll give
of
you
like,
that. I think she needed
like,
God. She needed
Yeah,
God because what she was going through, but like not knowing
I
that,
understand.
the whole movie felt like, oh, like I'm not going to go to church.
Scared of rich people, which is why The Notebook scared me. So.
I think for me, I felt like the dialogue specifically
So
on A Walk
bad.
to Remember
So bad.
was a little tough. You know, like we're talking about story points. Like, okay, yeah, like I can understand why someone would relate to A Walk to Remember. It's very like one street town, and this is the bad guy, and this is the good girl, and oh no, she's dying, and so the bad guy needs to be even better than he was going to be in the first place. Who cares? The dialogue to me was really bad. Yeah. Also, the one scene which we'll get to with the school play, Mandy Moore has a song. I love Mandy Moore.
I love that. That's the best scene of the whole movie.
I said, hey, where's the editor here?
Yeah,
we need some
too
cuts.
long.
She
Too
shouldn't
long.
be singing the
whole
full song.
No, we needed the full so we could feel it.
Okay,
Damn
Walk
it.
to Remember right now. I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, it wasn't relatable to me." I lived this story.
How so?
I cannot wait.
Because your ass is sitting right next to me and you ain't got no cancer.
I almost lived this story. I obviously grew up in the church, and I was a bit of the weird girl. I wasn't like mean to people. I just like really thought I really loved God, and I wanted everybody to like be happy. And I was like, I think this is gonna make you happy because then you're not gonna go to hell. And I really, really like bought into it. And then what ended up happening, everybody kind of ostracized me, thought I was a weirdo. Then I had a near-death experience. I was in a coma for 2 weeks. While I was in that coma, fighting for my life and like pretty much pronounced dead, everybody in my school like wrote me letters and like came to the hospital and was like calling me saying like, oh, I'm so sorry for how mean I was to you, and like I'm gonna pray to the God that you pray to for you to survive. So I'm like, I wake up, I get this new liver. I had like a crazy genetic disease. I needed a liver transplant.
Whoa.
My boyfriend at the time proposes. Now he wasn't like a bad guy necessarily, but he was, you know, he proposed, and then
Did he have less money than your family, would you say?
I don't know, because in A Walk to Remember, Shane West is rich.
No, I know.
Oh, I don't know how much money. I think we were equally middle class, lower middle class.
No, it just if
Marty's
he had
from the
less
bin.
money, it might have been helpful to me.
Oh no,
Because then you would have been the rich girl to him, and then I could have said that. Back to
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Well, no. So then I'm like dead, and then I almost die, and then but then me and that guy didn't end up getting married, right? But then what happened to me, and this isn't, I'm not saying this is a good thing. I think I tried to live out finding my Shane West, the bad guy, the drug addict,
The Justin Bobby, the Justin Bobbies.
to try to change him, because then I think I became obsessed with like, well, what is a movie, right? It's a character going through growth and having
Character journey.
having
Character
an
journey.
arc. So I was always doing that. So then I kind of I was like, I thought, then I stayed in that, which isn't good. Okay. It's not good, but you know what? I'm still alive.
So would you say this movie negatively influenced you into a bad pattern of dating
Kind of,
toxic
yeah.
men?
I think it's just sort of a creative outlet for me.
I want to
I say my
respond
bad
appropriately
I'm
to this story.
screaming.
I want to respond appropriately. I want to say I'm really sorry you went through that. And
Are you?
No, I am. I mean,
I like that you almost died and now you're fighting for a walk to remember.
Right.
Like you
I
had
am,
a second
because-
choice
well,
of life.
I will say that like there isn't a lot of stuff out there about people that are sick, and I think that like when people go through illness and different like life like altering things, it's nice to kind of see, oh wow, she was like she was dying, she did die, but hey, she still found love, and that's why I'm like. And I deal with stuff because of my illness and things. So I am like still sickly in some ways. And I'm like, hey, maybe I'll still be able to find love. Maybe there will be a guy out there who almost kills somebody and then they change their way.
no, but and we want that for you. Ultimately, we want that for you.
So yeah, the one thing, and I know you guys were mentioning that A Walk to Remember, you seem like you feel like it's crazy and weird. Maybe a little bit of that is because the book does take place in the 50s. Okay, so that kind of should answer some questions. But they were worried that not enough young people were going to want to watch it if it was in the 50s, and they knew this was an important message, so they decided to set it in modern day times. So that might be why you were a little like, why are they talking like that? And I do think maybe the pastor character, he was still kind of in the 50s, maybe.
Yeah, I was
the
gonna say.
ideals
Maybe
were
that was
very-
what was going on with him. But yeah.
Wait,
so-
that's interesting to think about because that's like the time that Barbie came out. That's like we're thinking about that same era of a woman. So that actually does make sense.
Yeah, and a woman like wanting to get married and that being
Yeah,
her
yeah.
biggest dream, like that makes more sense about a woman who was in the 1950s versus
For me, I hear what you're saying, and I think it does.
Because
I
it's
mean,
always
like-
the rich, beautiful girl
like all of
that
Nicholas-
finds love.
Okay, well, like all
Why are
of
you
Nicholas,
pointing at us?
Yeah, I'm like, what the
I mean,
Rich,
her maybe, but I'm from
beautiful.
Brazil.
What the hell? I'm like, my dad's an immigrant. What are you talking about? Alyssa always
Rich,
paints this
beautiful.
story
I'm
of me
not
and then
rich.
she like backtracks. Okay.
No, I'm just saying Rachel McAdams in that story is rich and beautiful.
And I think
Yeah.
he's a gold digger, so we'll get to that.
Well, what I'll say is like, okay, she's sick, right? She's sick and she has this whole bucket list. They're not gonna have sex.
yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, what the heck? She's gonna
Sex
die
isn't
without.
everything.
I know, but
Sex
she's
is
literally gonna leave
everything.
this earth. I think
She had sex. They got married. She had sex, and then she died.
I thought that that's what that implied.
Oh,
like after she
yeah.
got
Okay.
married,
Yeah.
like
That
of
makes
course,
sense.
yeah.
She
you know
got
what?
married,
but they didn't
because
show
was-
that.
They didn't need to.
They
You don't
need,
need
they
to
should.
see their sex scene. You don't always need to watch the sex.
We only have but so much
Okay.
runtime.
Look, Rachel McAdams had a full schedule, okay? Yes, she had more that she could do because of her family's wealth, but I think she
And
took
her
advantage
lifeline,
of
her
that.
lifespan.
She took
And then
advantage of
having a-
that.
I also
And
think
having
it's a
health.
very, I think it's very cool to have a character that's set back in the day also that's like going to college. There's only like 5 women's colleges back then. She has like dreams that are bigger than just like staying in the town
She
and getting married.
volunteers.
Yeah, she volunteered
because
for that
she
thing.
had-
And she's I'm not done, Alyssa.
because she had a long life ahead of her.
Oops, she kept going. Okay, so
Long life.
I think it's interesting that it's like, yeah, this is what that was like the struggle, right? Because
Yeah.
ultimately she was like, I do love this guy. I want to be with this guy, but she has this whole life ahead of her. She's been training and playing, and she's very smart. And you'll notice in the beginning when they first met, she's like, no, thank you. You're like,
She has a
this
lot of
is
pressure
this
from
is
her
like a weird
parents.
way to like be introduced to
Yeah.
someone. I'm not interested in men like you. Okay, you'll think of something like I like.
She
how
had two- I'm pretty
I
sure
like
she had
how
2
confident
boyfriends.
she was when
At the
she-
carnival. Hold
I like
on.
how confident
They were friends.
I like how confident she was when men tried to like hit on her, and she was just like, no. no,
Okay,
thank
at
you.
the carnival, she had 2 guys that were with her, and then she was on the carnival ride with another guy. Whenever Ryan got, what are you talking about? She was all guys. It was all guys.
So we're getting into this a little bit, but let's like talk about the it girls, right?
And I want to know, what do you guys think? Which is the more iconic love story? Is it Allie and Noah and they're toxic, tumultuous, or is it Jamie and Landon? It shows that true love conquers all, even death.
Let's get into Rachel McAdams as Allie, and let's get into Mandy Moore as Jamie. And like, who do we feel like really was the most iconic?
So Jamie is a religious, humble, sweet girl who we
Kind.
find out is dying. And not your classic star of a rom-com. I've never seen it. But have I seen a wealthy, hot, smart, rich, very well-dressed girl get love? Yeah, I've
Like
seen
who?
that. Rachel McAdams.
No,
in the Notebook.
besides-
That's what I'm saying.
besides this movie.
Every rom-com that's ever existed. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is kind of different to have, like,
I disagree.
Mandy Moore had greasy bangs in this movie. And do you know how hard that was probably for her to see those greasy
What's
bangs?
that movie where the girl gets a makeover and then becomes hot when they take off the
Oh,
glasses?
Miss Congeniality.
She's
no,
all
the
that.
other. She's all that. Same
Yeah.
thing. Dorky girl who studies. Literal
but
same
this is
storyline.
sort of, and you guys were mentioning that it wasn't a good enough dream for her to want to get married. I actually need to rebuke that. That is actually the opposite of feminism, because what feminism really says is that whatever dream a woman has is good enough and is worthy of her to dream that. So for us to sit here and say that for some women the dream of being wives and mothers isn't a good enough dream, we need to really think about
No,
that.
but when that's their
Because
only
you know what?
pathway, that's
It's
what the
not,
small
but
thinking
she had
is.
other dreams too, which was to volunteer, which is what she was doing.
Yeah, she was
to get
giving
a
back.
tattoo, which she got to be in 2 places at once,
She got
which she
that
was
too?
able to
She
do.
kind of got a temp tattoo though.
Yeah, she got
which is still
tattoo
great.
was a
It's
tattoo
still
was a
great.
tattoo.
She
She was
probably,
sick.
I'm not allowed to get a tattoo, like health wise. That's because it's like it would.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
'Cause of your
because
liver?
of. Well, yeah, because
Yeah.
of there's potential danger with getting a tattoo. You could get hepatitis. So I'm not
Whoa.
allowed. So I'm sure she wasn't allowed. So sorry that she wasn't allowed because she wasn't fully well.
You know,
Anyways.
I think Jamie giving back was aspirational to me, because I feel like
too.
when she was asked for help with the line, she could have just said no.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
who was that? Landon. And all his
Yeah.
friends
Landon
they were
Carter.
so mean to her, and
Yeah.
I know that I would have been like, hell no.
Extremely
Also,
rude
that
to her.
poster that they made of her.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
I know.
bad.
That's so classic
Editing
Mean
her
Girl.
face on that body
I just
was
think there's something really important about, like, I think that the reason why I like am so passionate about this movie is because I think a lot of young people, we think we're immortal and we think that we're invincible and that we don't ever really face problems that like you face when you're older sometimes. And I think it's important to see a perspective of somebody, because probably the reason why she was doing that is because she understood the value of life and how precious it is and that we're not promised tomorrow. And I think that, so it's not even like a Christian propaganda. I think that those messages are important in a movie. And even though it may not have been as iconic and memorable as The Notebook, I just still think it's important to talk about
But
it.
you're looking at it from a
I
perspective
personally
with
thought Jamie's
positivity.
story was a more important story just overall. Like obviously The Notebook ended how it did, you know. I wouldn't even say it ended in tragedy.
Oof, that wasn't that ending so sad.
Oh
though?
my God.
I
thought it was
mean, I'm sorry, but
beautiful.
to die in the arms of somebody
your
who loves
love,
me,
like,
that's actually
After
the
a whole
dream.
life. After a whole
Right?
life.
Yes, to die
Yeah.
together, that's literally the dream.
I
That's the
agree.
greatest outcome
Alyssa,
possible.
did you text me a picture of you crying at the end of The Notebook?
Of course I did. Of course.
With glasses on, and then another picture with glasses
Of
off.
course. Look, I'm not saying the Notebook is a great movie. Of course, it's an amazing movie. And yes, but I do think that like that is sort of the dream, right? To die in the
I agree.
arms of the person
It
that
is,
loves you
yeah.
the most. That is literally everybody's dream. And so
Jamie
Watch
and
Her
Landon didn't even
Remember,
get
she
that.
got to have like maybe a few months with her the love of her life, and then she died.
Okay,
That's
let's
So
go back
tell me
to-
about Mandy Moore.
Yeah, let's go back to
Obviously,
the
she
It
was
Girls.
around the same time as Christina and Brittany. I think she was a little more so, like she didn't really care about that. She was like, I'm not trying to do that, but you know, she still had some hits. Candy, I think she was just like a little more like, yeah, I'm not necessarily trying to do that. The Candy music video is amazing.
She was
had
not.
the-
She was not a pop diva, but she was a pop songstress and a
she
stronger actress.
toured with NSYNC, so
Sure
she
did.
kind of had like, you know, she was sort of. But then when she did A Walk to Remember, I think it really showed a lot of probably directors, obviously, because then she got cast in other roles where she played like weird Christians. But it showed like her acting range and her ability, and also when she sings "Only Hope" in the movie, that has remained like a treasured, cherished scene that I think about all the time. I remember I learned how to play that song on piano. It's a very hard song on piano. It's 6/8 time, which is kind of challenging.
I didn't even know your ass played the piano.
Yeah, and I remember we sang it in chorus, and I accompanied the chorus. Like, and I remember the way that I would practice that song. I practiced it like my life depended on it. I had extra
I so
rehearsals
believe
with my
this.
piano teacher, and I was like, and it was really intense. But I felt like Mandy Moore was giving me the power to do that. And then she moved on. She was in the movie Saved.
Then she did Princess Diaries.
Princess
Oh, Princess
Diaries. She was
Diaries,
always kind of
iconic.
playing like a villain, which was kind
A
of
very
interesting.
annoying character. I was
She was
very
playing
over
a
it.
villain in a lot.
Maybe she wanted to get away from like that
Yes.
nice girl
Probably.
Christian. So she was like, I'm
She
gonna play
played mean
villains.
well.
She
Yeah.
obviously is Rapunzel in Tangled. Her, you know, she's an incredible singer. She's
Yep.
a great actress. And then now, obviously, This Is Us.
Yeah.
which
And This Is Us has awards and
beautiful.
Cry porn.
And
Yeah,
she's a great dramatic actress.
she works.
Okay, Rachel
was Rachel
McAdams.
McAdams.
Let's talk about her. So I feel like she's from Toronto originally, and 2004 was a huge year for her because
Yeah.
she was in The Notebook and also in Mean,
Mean
Girls.
Girls, which
Shout out Mean Girls. We have an episode of Clueless v Mean Girls, so check that out. And there's like her audition video for The Notebook that is like on YouTube and gone around and is viral, and it's so good. It's like a really bad quality casting tape, and she's doing this scene where she like has met with Lon and she comes back and she's like trying to decide who she's gonna be with, and it's so good. Like I remember watching that and be like, damn, that is like very good acting. And I do feel like, I mean, we talked about this in Mean Girls too. Like she is just like a really good actor.
then she did Disobedience, which was like the most epic
Yeah.
lesbian sex scene ever. They spit into each other's mouths, and I
Oh.
was like, I'm into this.
She's an incredible actress.
And I have to
she's
say,
an
like,
incredible
I
actress.
didn't believe that they were like 17. Like they're both like
Oh, in The
clearly in their
Notebook?
mid-20s. Yeah, but like she does always play these like younger characters.
Yeah.
But she always
Yes.
plays like strong women. And yeah, I just think she's an incredible
She
actress.
has
know
a
what
very
else?
commanding presence.
Yeah.
She does.
I agree.
Also, you know what else is incredible? Like after this streak of movies, and I think like maybe her and Ryan Gosling actually like dated after these movies, but she turned down A Devil's Wears Prada,
Thank
and I
God.
think also Iron Man, like allegedly, but like she turned down all these like huge movies because she was like, I'm actually gonna be like mentally healthy. And I'm like, respect. I feel like
Whoa.
Hollywood like makes you to be like, you're an it girl, like
Yeah,
go,
work,
go,
work,
go.
work. Yeah.
And she was like, I'm not gonna do that.
That's why it
I
is like,
respect.
yeah, to kind of like try to compare her to Mandy Moore. Like they're both, I have so much
They're both
respect for both of
incredible.
them.
Yeah.
They seem to be just like, they know who they are. and they both are sort of like, this is what I want to do, and they also just like want to be normal, live lives, and be happy, and like work when they can.
And they stay in their
And
lanes. When we discuss their careers like that, it makes me think of Hilary Duff. Sorry that that's unrelated, but I also feel like Hilary Duff is someone that does what she needs to do, and then she goes into her house, she has her kids, and she shuts the door. And I feel like Rachel McAdams and Mandy Moore are the same way.
Like Nicholas Sparks in all his movies, they're like there's all these very strong leading women actor types, which is interesting. Like if you look throughout it, like which is a cool thing to have these women. Like even though the love stories are a bit like, I don't want to say basic, but they're like stereotypical.
I think they're cheesy.
And heterosexual, and like
very that,
and very cis. It's like it's okay because like they have leading women that are like powerful and independent in a way. So
I know. So speaking of the heart, like, so it is time to get into the guys.
It's time to get into the guys.
The men.
Okay, so when I was watching A Walk to Remember, there is a scene where Shane West, he's kind of like looking like sultry down like this, and he's just like, ugh. And I got such a flash of like Twilight, like, and I was like, oh my God, actually these slew of rom-coms like made way for like, what's that, a Court of Thorn of Roses, right? That like romance, like monster romance book for Twilight. I'm like, oh, these sultry guys in like interesting lighting, like
the early
Shane West guy.
The early 2000s was all about it, and this is why I'm saying like this kind of messed me up. It was all about the bad boy with the girl next door.
What's it called? The rat.
It's like
look for guys.
Oh, Rat Boy.
Rat boys. Rat
Do you
boys
think
summer.
he had a rat boy?
Oh, no,
I don't know.
I think
he's
he's
classically hot.
He was like a hot, but I think that he was. I don't know if he was classically hot. I would say Ryan Gosling is more classically hot. I think like Landon, he had a little bit of like an edge to him. Like he looked a little like edgy, and he was obviously just like,
like
bad.
skinny boy.
And then Mandy Moore's character came in and like saved him. It was that energy of like, I can fix you.
I thought
and
he
that's
looked
bad,
boring.
and that's what I tried to do with a lot of my relationships.
I think a
You
lot of
can't
movies are
fix-
like that.
You can't like fix a guy.
Like women all the time are like, oh, he's cute, but if he just wore different clothes, you know what I
He's
mean? And then like they,
I just want to say that all the men looked boring to me. When I was younger,
fair.
when I was younger and these movies were out, I used to obviously be in school, and like before holiday break, the teacher would come in, roll in the TV on the cart, and be like, "All right, Shrek or The Notebook, or Shrek or Walk to Remember."
why Shrek so much?
Because Shrek is that girl. Are you kidding me? And now that I've seen both movies, I'm so glad I was that kid that wanted attention and would like jump up and be like, Shrek! And like run around.
so were you didn't think Landon was hot?
I didn't think Landon was hot. I didn't think Ryan Gosling was hot either. I just thought that they both looked like two typical white men that, of course, white women were going to go crazy over. And
I
they
do,
did.
and I did. And Landon's character, I will say though, like it was toxic, but I think that once he turned and then was like obsessed with Jamie, I mean that was the dream. The way that he
Landon
was like running around, he was building a telescope. I want a guy to build a telescope for me.
Alyssa, would you disagree with me saying that Landon is a very PA kind of boy?
He is very
like
PA.
he reminded me of boys that like I grew up
Yeah,
with.
he was very Pennsylvania.
Yeah, he looks
And
very
maybe,
Virginia to me,
Maybe
too.
that's
Yeah.
why I kind of like related, and like I there was guys in my kind of school that reminded me of him. And I remember the first guy I ever had a crush on in high school who was a drug addict. And I remember I wrote about him in my journal, and I compared him to like.
We need your
Landon.
journals, as
Yeah,
told
we
by
need
Alyssa.
that.
We
I was
need
like,
it.
I loved that he was so funny. I was like, he's so funny, even though he's a drug addict. I think that if God gets a hold of him, like he can change.
He's so funny.
That
He's
is
tripping
so
over
funny.
everything.
So he just but that movie did. But I think that's why I'm like, and I am sort of. I mean, that's what movies are, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you have to have a change, and so, but it's just like kind of crazy the change we see.
I
now.
also feel like the 80s and 90s movies had like Bad Boys, even like 70s movies, and then the 2000s started to like move into
yeah.
like Mean Girls.
Well,
Like
even Grease.
Yeah, like-
Grease is literally like
Bad Boys
Danny
versus
Zuko,
Good Girls, yeah.
and
I've
you
never
know,
seen
but
Grease
now,
before.
but I feel
what?
like in the
You would love
you'd love
Grease 2, must watch.
Not the
Anyways,
sequel, really?
Yeah.
But Ryan
I was-
Gosling and Noah, he wasn't really the bad
But also,
boy.
No, but I was
never
gonna
s-
say
but he
in the
was adventurous. I mean,
2000s
he's hanging from the like.
Yeah,
From the-
I would say like in the 2000s, like it was less about Bad Boys, which I also
Yeah.
feel like is why for me like A Walk to Remember also like feels a little bit like of a different time for me, because I'm like, oh yeah, Noah's not, he's actually like a good boy. He's also a carpenter, which I think is
That's what
super
got
hot.
me.
The Aidens of the Sex and the City were like,
exactly.
yeah, if someone
Yeah.
who builds you a house, like, yes, in
When
the
he got
way
that
that you're
beard.
like, I love when it's a bad guy and he turns good and you fix him. Like I'm like, if someone builds me a house or builds me a table, builds me anything really, I'm like, I'm done.
It's also a
You're
guy
good.
that keeps his word. Like
Yeah.
I dated so many guys that were just like
Keeps his
liar.
word or
Yeah.
stalks her.
No,
I'm screaming.
I
he
love
keeps
it.
his
I
word.
love
Like
it.
he says, I'm gonna do this. We're gonna do this together. And like he actually builds this house
Yeah.
and follow. Like I love a follow through.
It is actually
You know what
like
I mean?
like I said, the Twilight, like it is like Edward coded a little bit because
Yeah.
Edward's like, I watch you sleep.
The
I'm like here every
loyalty.
night. And I'm like, I love that loyalty.
It's a little stalkery, but it's like good in a good way.
I have
You know
a
what I mean?
question
Yeah.
for the ladies at the table because I can't relate clearly. Why do you think both of these stories, The Notebook and A Walk to Remember, why do you think women relate to them so well? Because to me, they're both cringy, tragic stories. So like for
'Cause
them,
we love that.
for them to be so iconic, but there's death in both. Where do y'all see the happy? Where do y'all see the I want that and that?
Women
Like,
women love something to fix. We love a fixer upper, whether it's a house or a man. I mean,
Yeah.
even
and
if
then-
it ends in death.
and then I think that we also like feeling a little bit of sadness sometimes.
I think I like the story, like holistically the stories. Like even like in the last song, even in like all of Nicholas Sparks' books, like it starts one way. There's like a little bit of drama. It's like the scene where it's the two of them and there's like dialogue and they're like, is he gonna like her? Is she gonna like? Like it's that
Oh, the
tension.
will they, won't they, the
and
tension.
honestly, all of these movies are like a little horny. No offense. And
Like I said,
we like
porn-
it.
Not the sad
porn
horny
stuff.
movies.
I think it's also it is like, I will say, yeah, both of these movies are kind of toxic, especially The Notebook, because it's sort of like, oh yeah, you can be in a situationship with a guy who's still in love with his first love. He never was able to let her go.
Oh, yeah,
And then
totally.
we've
Yeah,
got
poor
Martha.
girl.
Martha was like Ryan Gosling.
Oh, Martha.
Side piece.
Side piece. And the whole time he was just like,
No, but he
broken.
told her.
Yeah, but still, he was still like, whatever. And then you've got Rachel McAdams, this guy who's like the love of her life, James
So
Marsden.
hot. Oh my
and
God.
she's like, this reminds me, it makes me think that like, I'm going to be on my wedding day. Right? I'm going to be about to walk down the aisle and I'm going to look at my Instagram story and my situationship from 2018 is going to like something and I'm going to be like, oh, and it's like, move on.
This is like Alyssa and I were texting while we were rewatching The Notebook, and she's like, "Oh my God, justice for Martha! Like
Justice
this
for
is so fucked up."
Martha.
And I go, literally, he told her up front. He goes.
Yeah, Martha could have been got the hell up out of there.
Doesn't
Word for word,
matter.
I cannot give you what you want. My heart is with another, and she keeps coming back. I say, Martha, you need a best friend to say, hey,
Move on.
but I'm stop going to
Martha
Ryan
was
Gosling's
friendless as
house.
hell.
Have
Wait,
sex
but
with
also
him. He doesn't love
say this.
you.
In A Walk
I'm
to
gonna
Remember,
say
there was
this.
another girl too. He had a girlfriend.
No, he didn't. Before he got with James.
Alyssa.
Sorry.
No, he didn't.
Sorry.
Damn it, not facts.
You're talking about Melinda. Okay, before he even fell in love with Jamie, Melinda was trying to get with him and he said no. Like they were broken up. They were already broken up. Do not bring Melinda into this.
Do not get her cardigan in a twist.
They were, and she was not sleeping with him. She was trying to, and he was
Also-
like, no. This was before he was even in love with Jamie. So yeah, Ryan Gosling was doing Martha dirty. And I know that he told her, but blah, blah, blah. You know, he was still.
And then also, what about his problematic friend who literally was like shoving his girlfriend in the first scene?
I know. Wait, can we actually
Yeah,
talk
and
about
he
the first
left
scene?
those friends.
Because that was scary to me. The
That
first
was
scene.
Yeah,
scary.
we moved on from that.
No, I need
No,
to revisit
me
it.
too.
It was
And
really
you guys-
scary.
you
She
guys
goes to
don't
kiss
have
him and he
anything.
shoves her away from
You
him.
guys
really
don't
and
have
made it
anything.
okay. Like that's how guy. Like I saw that. Like he's just like that's how
Yeah.
guys
He's
are.
just a bro.
Yeah.
When
it's
I
like,
watched
what?
The Notebook as a little girl, I was like, wow, this is true love. Watching it as an adult, you feel really bad for James Marsden, whatever his name was, Lon and Martha.
Hammond Cotton.
And I don't care what you say. They did those two people dirty.
Okay, so let's
and
talk-
it doesn't always work out. The love of your life doesn't always come back. And I've met too many guys that are just like living in that place where they're heartbroken and they're thinking about their first love and they can't move on. And it doesn't always work out like this. And that is dangerous.
But it does in this movie, which we
I want to
love.
ask the audience something. Hi, audience. Are you still thinking about your first love?
Yes.
Tell us all about them in the comments
I
because
think
we're
you guys
curious.
are. And
Okay.
you need to move on.
To your point, Jade, yes, women love a fixer-upper, right? Which is why Landon was great because we saw him in the beginning. He was troubled. He was awful. And we got to see him sort of go through this transformation, right? From trash to quality, right? I feel like Noah was playing in Martha's face. He didn't really go through that transformation all the way, did he?
I think he did because he kept writing these letters and he was really trying. And then once he realized she was gone, he was like hopeless. Like he lost like the reason why he was living, which was like really beautiful. Also, vagina will make you do crazy things. Like you build a whole house and then you change that drastically.
I also want to say, you guys are saying here, whenever we bring up like Ryan Gosling using Martha, you guys be like, he told her. So you're giving so much credit. Like he could have also said, you know what? I'm not emotionally available to be in a relationship. We shouldn't be seeing each other. He could have said that, but he
continued to use her body.
Yes. So you
but
guys
she
need to
was
be
also
careful
Okay,
about,
after sex, she goes, you want to go down to the river? And he's like, no, I literally told
That's
you
what
I
I'm
can't
saying.
get you what
So
you want.
she
He's
dense as
using her
hell.
body.
You want
Yeah.
to take a walk then?
But she
It's
was
like,
also
Martha, get
using
real.
his. They were using each other. It was a toxic relationship. It was a
I'm just saying, but
situationship.
you guys need it's both of them. But so you're just saying it's all Martha's fault. It's
No,
both
I'm
of
not
them.
saying it's both. Yeah, it's both of them, of course.
Yeah.
But like she
I'm
also
not
kept
saying
coming
that.
back.
Ryan Gosling, I feel like we don't even need to get into that, but obviously had an epic, iconic
Incredible
career.
Drive. Oh my God.
He was in
Incredible
Barbie,
movie.
which we have a Barbie versus Bratz episode, so go watch that if you haven't.
There's
Blue
just something about
Valentine,
him.
The
Oh, I
Big
love that
Short. I
movie.
love
Yeah.
Blue Valentine. Just so much stuff, obviously.
I just like his voice.
Yeah.
I don't even find him, like, I find him hot. Obviously, I mean, I'm not like as into men, but like just something about the way he moves. Like he's just got it.
I do think Ryan Gosling seems like a nice guy.
Which of these movies do you believe has more iconic scenes? The Notebook or A Walk to Remember with Candy Mandy? Tell us in the comments right now.
I want to get into my favorite scenes from The Notebook. I think one of my favorites is the night that they met at the carnival, where Noah's like, I gotta have you. And he actually like jumps on one of the rides and is like hanging from
I
the
loved
Ferris
it.
wheel until she agrees to go out with him.
She
and
pulls
I
his
was
pants
obsessed.
down.
Yeah.
Okay, what else? What other scenes? did you
I
love?
really like this. I really like their tension and how like kind of toxic they were. Like, I love when they're in the water and she's like, "Say you're a bird."
Yeah, that's
Like,
cute.
I'm a bird, you're a bird. Because
Yeah.
that's like something I would do. I'd be like, let's do this weird thing. And my girlfriend's like, no. And I'm like, come on, let's do it, you know? So I thought that was like a really kind of sweet insight to the relationship.
Yeah.
And I do love the scene when he's like, you want to go on a date? And she's like, let's get you better. And then he shows up all hot and all the girls are like, he's so handsome.
Wait, also in that
Justice for
scene,
Lon.
she puts him
for Lon.
up to give him some water and he's like, how's about a date? And she just sets him back down. No water. He didn't get any water. He's freaking starving in that cast. Oh my God.
Silly.
I also am obsessed with the kissing scene and like the ducks and like when she finally goes there and that sex scene is iconic. And so
I kind of like whenever she's like pushing him.
Yeah,
Oh,
me
when
too.
she's like, "Shut
yeah,
up!"
when she's shoving. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
when
I
she's
think,
like,
you know, look,
Violence.
The Notebook really does glorify like a toxic, abusive
very much
relationship.
does.
Yeah, it
and that's
does.
great for that. That's great that that's your guys'. So some of our favorite scenes.
wait, I have one more. When the mom is like, when the mom takes her back to the
Oh,
the
yeah.
lumber mill.
yeah, and she's like, it could have been this guy, but I chose your
I
daddy
do
instead.
love that moment.
And like, yeah, it's like,
but also that's a crazy thing for
Yeah.
her. It's like
I thought
promoting.
that was a sad moment.
It was so
Yeah.
sad. And
Yeah,
it's
it was
promoting
sad.
that like, yeah, you're always going to be longing for your first love. And that
No.
is dangerous.
no, it wasn't.
propaganda.
It was about materialism versus
She
actual
chose
love.
rich, yeah.
She chose material things, and she was.
Look at me balling like a ball bag. Look at me balling like a little ball bag.
I literally was watching that going, ew, not the trash mom. I literally was so put off by that. I said, not you yearning and longing for someone that's not your husband.
Wow, thank
Flop.
you.
She flopped.
She flopped.
Also, the
And
mom,
the dad with the mustache, like
the mom is just
Yeah.
like so mean the whole movie. Like they go to a lunch and she goes, and one of the guys is like, how much do you make? And he's like, 20 cents or whatever he says. And she's like, and she spills the beans that she's
I'm
going
at
to
the
college
school.
in a different place and they
Yeah.
didn't know. I'm like,
But like
you're
I said,
a
I
cunt.
know I said this earlier, but I stand by it. I think that the mom hiding those letters, I think that actually is the reason why they end up together.
Yeah.
Because if
Interesting.
Rachel McAdams would have been like reading those letters, she probably would have been like, ugh, this guy's so annoying and poor. Like,
Yeah.
but I think because the mom like
Not
kept them
and
apart,
poor.
whenever they finally did get back together like 7 years later, it allowed that longing. It like allowed, and then it was like, then it came together, and then the mom got to be the enemy, and that's normally what helps a relationship when you have a common enemy.
Yeah.
So,
But the
yeah.
mom
Sorry.
came around. She came around. She was
Yeah,
like,
I
"Don't be
know.
like me." You know what I mean?
I
She was
know,
like,
but
"Choose
that's
correctly."
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So now we have some great scenes.
My favorite scene is the end when I was gonna say when Jamie dies. After Jamie
You're
dies, Landon goes to visit Jamie's dad, and he was like going to apologize for not being able to give Jamie a miracle. And her dad was like, "Oh no, girl, you're the miracle," and because that's how I felt.
And
That's how
I will
felt.
say, we didn't even really talk about Jamie's dad. I love that he just has this insane like New Orleans accent. Like,
What is
going
that?
on?
What was that?
He's all Landon. It's like the most intense accent. He's an insane character. I do like moments with the dad and Shane West. I like whenever Landon goes to the pulpit because Jamie says, I'm not allowed to date. And then he goes whenever the dad's like practicing his sermon and he's like,
Oh, yeah.
can I please
That's
go
crazy.
date your daughter? Like, I think that's like a fun moment.
And he
Obviously,
keeps
the
fighting.
Only Hope
Yeah.
performance is amazing.
Iconic.
Whenever and here's the thing I was laughing about, like when she takes off that robe and then she's like in that silky dress and Landon looks at her like, I'm like, they must have rehearsed that in dress rehearsal. Like, but he made it seem like he had never
like
seen
it was the
her.
fir's time. Yeah,
He had never seen her with makeup and hair.
She's like,
And the
that
hair
look.
is like
And
crimped
I
to
was
the
like, I'm
nines.
sure that he saw that in dress rehearsal, but maybe he didn't. You know, maybe she saved it for that.
You
and
know what
whenever
other scene I liked?
Melinda's like trying to like watching it, and she's like, it's like, move on, Melinda.
Hating ass Melinda.
Melinda cannot.
Melinda was
know.
cute. What was she? She was in other like Disney movies and stuff. I feel like she looks familiar. I think
No,
Melinda.
wasn't.
She was. Can we like fact check Melinda?
but of course,
The girlfriend?
whenever. So
What
I
else she
will
was
say.
in?
I will say the other thing is, and I know we kind of talked about the temporary tattoo moment. Whenever he gives her the tattoo, and it's like,
The dramatic
Oh
reveal.
my
and
God,
then
I
it's like,
know.
remember?
I said,
And
girl,
it's
that's
like,
not even real.
That moment, whenever she's like, and then like he's like touching her shoulder right there. I died. I know.
You
I
are
know. Maybe there's no
hilarious,
sex
Alyssa.
scene,
No.
but that to
When
me
they're
was powerful.
when they're photoshopping the thing together, that I was laughing hysterically.
That was so mean. I
Like,
said,
Oh, because you're a bully.
no, because I just thought it was such a stupid.
I know.
They're working like
Yeah.
the scene, the way it was shot, like the Photoshop, like the way they're like, like it was just
on the
so.
computer in the computer lab. I also the night when Landon like drives through the night twice to like go to his dad's to be like, Dad. I was
I
like,
was just
actually
about to
cried.
say,
I cried.
I love the scenes with
cried.
Landon and his dad because I really liked finding out that his dad actually was like a good guy and came around and paid for like the private.
I
Yeah, because he felt
cried.
guilty for
Possible
abandoning him for his whole life. Yeah,
But
so
whenever
it's really
he,
about coming
whenever,
around.
whenever
Give me
he
something.
when he
Yeah.
finally gets like when he's like breaks down crying and hugging his dad, I
That
cried.
was the moment
I
for
mean,
me.
so I like
That
that
is
moment.
it. It's
Yeah.
like
I
so
like that moment.
powerful.
when Landon walks away and then he goes, "Don't walk away from me," and he goes, "You taught me how."
I mean, my sister named her son Landon because of that movie.
Really?
Whoa.
I think.
Mindy? Mindy did?
No, Jackie.
Oh.
The one I used to play Barbies with.
Can I say something? I feel like the way people felt emotional about The Notebook in 2 hours is the way I felt about A Walk to Remember in 90 minutes.
Yeah, it was long. I
Like
have to give
a
you
Notebook
that.
was kind of like daunting to me. Not a bad movie.
Sure.
Just a corny, cheesy, cringy movie. And I feel like I got less of that with A Walk to Remember. Maybe it was because A Walk to Remember to me was, well, they both were very predictable.
Yeah.
But A Walk to Remember to me felt more classic than The Notebook. I don't know, like the thought of like the bad boy going through the journey to good was very like easy and accessible to me. There were a lot of moments in The Notebook where I found myself like, okay, girl, what's going on Twitter?
The other
Girl, let me
thing-
film
It
this
was
TikTok.
long.
It
Yeah,
was just long.
It was
But here's a
long.
tip for you the next time you watch it. Fast forward the old people. That's what I do.
I
But
love
the,
the
the,
old
old
people.
people were the best part
Me
for
too.
me.
Me too. The
Like
most.
the young and Rachel love Rachel. Shout out to you,
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling. Go ahead. The old people, the elderly, iconic.
I
Gina
agree.
Rollins is
They're
an amazing
incredible.
At
That
the end when
actor.
she couldn't remember no more and she was wilding out,
Yeah.
I said, oh my God.
And then like that doctor being like, you can't make her remember. And he's like, I
Yeah.
will. And then when she comes
Yeah.
to and she realizes like that scene is heartbreaking. She's like, how long have I been gone? Like, and they have all these, like all the kids have given up on her, but the dad's like, no, this is my home now.
Like I know
I
someone
just-
that works
that
at an
was-
assisted living facility
Mm.
and that happens more often than we would think.
No,
so like
it's
to
really
see it
hard,
was
yeah.
like, that was important.
I have some
to me.
personal things with that, with like my own family that I was like, it was just so touching. Like how the dad didn't give up on the mom, like forever. Like it was
That's
just
also, I think
beautiful.
I have some stuff in my family too, and that's
Yeah.
why I don't watch it. Because I think it is it's actually an
hard.
accurate
Very
depiction
triggering.
of it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
That's hard.
it's really hard to
Yeah.
watch.
I
But it
think
was
it's interesting
beautiful,
that
that
both
part.
movies really do kind of make it seem like the parents were also kind of trying to, like the preacher dad, the mom hiding the
Yep.
letters. Both, there's a little bit of that. So Nicholas Sparks was not pro-parent.
No, and surprisingly, because his mom actually got him into writing these damn
I
books.
know.
But he talked about how like he uses like Message in a Bottle was like based on his parents, and like his mom found a message in a bottle. So he takes these kernels from his life that are like tiny pieces of truth, and then builds them into these predictable stories, as you said. Okay, but
But I think
who do
people
we
like that.
Yeah,
it's like
people
a
really
like that.
pacifier. Yeah. You know.
So you guys, decider of this episode, how do you guys feel in terms of Nicholas Sparks movies all around? Do you think they're cheesy? Do you think they're incredible? Let us know in the comments.
And is there a movie that you love that you've seen a million times, just like she's seen The Notebook way too many times?
I've probably seen it like 25 times.
Wow.
The same
Crazy.
amount as I've seen Dune.
Oh, I love
And
Dune.
probably The Wedding Singer.
I love Dune. I'm
I
always
didn't
like,
even make it through Dune.
Really?
I
I had
love
to
The
watch it
Wedding
for
Singer.
a podcast, and it was.
I love
I
Hard.
loved
Yeah.
Dune, the TV show. Ooh,
There's more.
good.
Oh, I haven't seen
It's all about
that.
the
God bless
witch
Zendaya.
sabers.
Someone
It's
call
all
her.
about them.
Oh, I
and
haven't
their-
seen
Oh,
that.
it's so good.
Okay.
Pick up your knife.
So let's look at receipts. Okay, let's look at some actual receipts, which I
Okay.
think is hard because I think we've done a good job in this episode by saying from different POVs both these movies have a lot of merit, right? And a lot of love, and some have sex and some have shoulders, and that's okay because some people are into shoulder stuff and feet stuff, all that stuff. So let's look at receipts. Okay, The Notebook was 115 million, right? Bunch of nominations. I think there was that MTV movie kiss, right, between Rachel McAdams and Ryan Gosling. That was. Do you remember this? They were voted Best Kiss. MTV Movie Awards. And we have an MTV versus VH1 episode. So
Such a good one.
Go ahead and check that out if you haven't seen that. But Movie Awards, they're voted for Best Kiss. They win. They walk up together. They walk up to different sides of the stage. And he has like a little, come here, girl, with two fingers like that. And she walks up to him, jumps in. He's carrying her. She's like,
And were they
wrapped around
dating
him.
at this point?
I don't know if
Because can you imagine if that was your boyfriend? And he
Yeah,
No, but
I
it's
would've been
probably
like,
sorry.
ew.
Hollywood is
But think
canceled.
about what his wife had to go through, like when he's just traveling the world with Margot Robbie,
I
like
know.
doing all
Oh,
those
yeah.
interviews.
Yeah.
I think about her all the time.
But
like,
they
A
dated.
secure
They,
woman.
we didn't even talk
Secure.
about
Yeah,
that. They
Rachel
dated
McAdams and
for
Ryan-
like 4 years.
They dated, yeah.
it probably was when they were dating.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. I just can't believe, like, if you had to
And
do
he
that
said on
now-
camera that she's a really good kisser. That's like
Yeah.
notorious.
Wait, who is she married? Who
Rachel
is he
McAdams?
married to?
He's
Ryan
married to
Gosling is married to
Mendes.
Eva
Eva
Mendes.
Mendes, yeah.
She's
Oh, wow.
and so she.
But
had
yeah,
to be,
so
like,
obviously
with
the
kids.
Notebook won in the box office. Walk to Remember 47 million, but it doesn't
That's
matter.
a lot of money
That's a lot
still.
of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money for like a movie about a sick girl that like is
Call
Christian.
it what it is. A movie about a sick Christian
And
girl.
we still had 4 nominations.
Pulled them girls
3
in.
wins. We got an MTV Movie award. We won.
Okay.
And then we got a Teen Choice Award. 2 wins at the Teen Choice Award. So there we go.
Fan voted.
We got some action here.
Yeah, you did.
But yes, the Notebook, it seems to me that the Notebook has a little more of a cultural impact than I Walk to Remember, and that's fine. I'm fine with that.
yeah,
I
but
guess.
the question on this show is like, who related to what most? Like, what was the most iconic? So let's get into our closing arguments. Okay,
All right.
let's go ahead. A Walk to Remember. I'll let y'all go first with
Yeah.
your closing arguments.
And I
let's
know
hear it.
everybody's on the edge of their seats.
I know I am.
waiting for me to get all passionate and upset and angry. And sure, maybe I was a little bit for this episode. But do you want to know why? It's because I have come close to death.
Oh.
I've seen things that you guys haven't seen, okay? And I'm on the other side, and I want to tell you that A Walk to Remember is the closest depiction that I have ever seen of what true love is, which is that it's not always just about toxic and you're rich and you're in love and you got to choose between 2 hot guys. It's about fighting for your life, not knowing that you're going to have tomorrow. And so the decisions that you make and the people that you put in your life really matter. And the fact that Mandy Moore seemed like it was really her going through that. I know she wasn't, but
She was
Mandy
looking real
Moore
sickly.
was she was at death's door. She wasn't responding to treatment. Yet she still decided that life was too beautiful to pass by. And she could have just sat on her couch and moped and complained and been sad. And sure, if you need to do that, that's okay too. You can do that. But she didn't do that. She decided to try to live and find love. And she found that love in a bad boy who saw her and decided that life was more than just trying to be cool, but that it was deeper than that. And it put him on a path to become a doctor. Think of all the lives that he was able to save because of Mandy Moore, her one life, and her decision to love and show light in a dark world. So yeah, sue me. I like this movie.
Oh my God.
Also,
No,
Yes,
let them finish.
this.
Let them finish.
Yes, this.
Thank you.
I want to say that A Walk to Remember is an iconic film just because it reminds people of their mortality. Not all of us get to make it to our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. And so I feel like with this movie, you find the purest form of love. It's the love that changes someone for the better, for good.
Yeah.
Shout out to Wicked.
Shout out.
I think Mandy Moore's performance, questionable, still iconic. She looked good, she looked sick, and she looked lovely.
I need
And
that
that's a walk
t-shirt.
that I won't forget.
Thank you.
Period.
Amen.
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 And Hail Mary, damn
Look,
it.
did I relate to these films? No, but I related to one aspect of it, which was it's not about going with what everybody and all of society and your parents expect from you, but it's about going with your gut and what feels right deep down, even if that makes you separate from your family, even if that makes you separate and be questioned by society. And I guess that's like a gay way of life. And that's why I related to it. It's a beautiful movie about a love story that takes you through decades of being together and how they end up together and like die together in a bed. It's beautiful. And it's about like love that is so strong that it goes through every little bit. It's also about a hot guy building a house, which I love. That's very gay. And I just feel like it's the most iconic romance of that time. I feel like everybody's been like, you never watched The Notebook? Like I've gotten that more than any other movie that I've ever not watched. And I'm glad I've seen it. I feel like I'm a part of something for watching it. And wow, I'm just so glad to see Rachel McAdams before she did the most iconic love scene in a Jewish movie.
Yeah. Okay, incredible. I do feel like this episode got very wholesome in a way that we were not expecting.
Not the finale.
You normally come to this for comedy, and we
Yeah.
kind of went wholesome. And so I wanna end on this. The Notebook is the far superior movie for 3 points. Number 1, storytelling and cinematography. I'm sorry. Walk to Remember does not hold a candle to The Notebook, which was beautifully shot, spans 2 decades. The storytelling is a flashback and a flash forward. It just doesn't get more iconic than that. That scene of the ducks, the swans on the lake, like, I'm sorry, that's actually like
We never even talked about that.
a
Where did they
beautiful
get all those
cinematic
ducks?
moment.
Not
Totally.
birds.
Number 2, I feel like the acting was far more superior. Rachel McAdams, I'm sorry, you're iconic. Ryan Gosling, you're iconic. This started a cascade of things for them. The chemistry was incredible, and I was envious of the chemistry they have. And number 3, I think it's a really important story for women to rewatch. Being confident, being powerful, putting your school before high school boys. Like, I dated a guy in high school, loser. Total loser. And I
Waste of
had movies
time.
like this to be like, hey, it's okay. Like, wait and keep going. And then you can make an educated decision on who the people are right for you to marry. Like, I think that's incredible. All that being said, I think The Notebook I've seen probably 22 times, and I'll probably see over 100 times before the time I die. And that's the way it's going to frickin' go.
And you should be so lucky. And not everybody is lucky enough to watch The Notebook that many times because they're going to die. Like Mandy Moore.
Damn right.
To remember.
Oh my God.
Rest in paradise, Jamie.
If you made it this far in the episode, we thank you. This has been a really fun one, a really heated one, a really wholesome one.
Yeah, you know, we love It Girls from that time. So if you want to learn a little more about that, we had a Christina Aguilera versus Britney Spears episode. You can click on that right here because it got a little heated on this one. And we were a little sweeter on that episode. If you're like, who are they? I need to remember.
We were probably heated on that one too.